Also, I would like to thank the hair gods for this day. So for any of you who doubted my curly girl status, this is what my hair looks like, and I'm feeling myself. Hello, lovelies, and thank you so much for tuning in again. As you can see, I've got a different film set up. I'm in a different part of the house that I'm staying in, so I'm hoping that this works better. Let me know what you guys think down in the comments. Um, Learning as I go, like I said, so bear with me. As you can see at the window back here, it is a gorgeous day outside, so I hope you're having a lovely day wherever you are. It feels like spring, and it just stinks that we all can't go outside and enjoy it, or at least we shouldn't. But you know, if you need a walk, take a walk. It's fine. Just stay 6 feet apart from other people. So today I just kind of wanted to do just another little chat about some things that have been going on since I started traveling. Some things that I kind of hinted at in the first video, which by the way, if you didn't see that, I will link that down below in the description box. So that way you can check that out if you haven't seen it yet. If you are new to my channel, which if you are, thank you very much and welcome. So the things that I wanted to delve into a little bit more are my experience with traveling. Since I started this in March, I started searching for positions in January, but started this position in March. And like I said, it did end early due to some issues related to the COVID-19 pandemic. So let's kind of just dive right into things and talk about it a little bit more. So I left the last position that I was working at, which was a women's health OB-GYN clinic. I left that position at the beginning of November of 2019. And I was fortunate enough to have the finances to support me while not working for a couple of months, just physically and mentally. Just really needed a break. It was a very heavy volume type of clinic, and I was doing 20 plus ultrasounds a day. And if you do what I do, you know that that's a lot, and it's very physically taxing, specifically on the shoulder and the back. So really just needed some time off, and I was fortunate enough to be able to do that. So then like around Christmas time, is when I got in contact with a recruiter that had reached out to me through Indeed. My resume had been on Indeed for a couple of months, and so I was getting some offers for different traveling positions, and so I selected one to call back, and we started the process. So I had to formally fill out an application online. I had to send them my resume, a couple of references for them to put everything together in a package for when they submit me for positions. So the way the whole process works is your recruiter submits you for positions. The facility, if they're interested, they give you a call. At least that's what she told me is what they do is phone interviews. I'm not sure if they ever do like Skype or something else, but phone interviews usually. And then if they want you, they formally give you an offer and you sign a contract for an agreed length of time. It's usually about 3 months, but it could be a shorter one or it could be a longer one, just depends on their need. You can have an agreed upon shift, or they can just say it's varied and they'll let you know. They stipulate things like if you're going to take call, if any of your shifts or if your call hours are going to be on a weekend. And then it also stipulates like what you're getting paid. And the agency that I work for, because they're all a little bit different, but the agency that I work for, what you get is you get a portion of your income that is taxed, and then a portion of it is untaxed. And then the income that is untaxed is meant for things like your housing, travel, and other incidental costs and stuff like that. So it's different based on the region and based on the demand. There's different factors that go into it. But generally, when you're applying, your recruiter lets you know, like, this is the income package for each of these assignments. And so that whole process of waiting for phone interviews and trying to get things started, that took a little bit longer than I had anticipated. Because like I said, I started things like right after Christmas. So I was expecting that I would probably be working by the end of January. It turns out with your first assignment, it usually doesn't work that quickly. I was getting really discouraged and just unsure of the whole thing. And then I spoke to a former instructor of mine who I saw through Facebook. She had started an assignment in Hawaii. And I was like, is this normal? Like, what, like, is there anything else I should be doing? And she said for her, it took about 6 weeks to get the first assignment. So I tried to hang in there, but I am by nature a very impatient person. I want it now. I want it now. Finally, in the beginning of February, I did get a phone interview from the hospital that I ended up working for, which is here in Zanesville, Ohio. Zanesville is just east of, not just east, it's not like immediately east, but it is, like an hour or so east of Columbus. And where I ended up getting a place to stay is in Cambridge, which is another 30 minutes east. So, um, so yeah, the hospital in Zanesville, there was kind of a little bit of a back and forth. They called me, they liked me, they wanted to offer me the position, and then they retracted the position for reasons that I never really got a full explanation for. But about 2 weeks later, they called me again and said, okay, we're definitely getting a traveler, and we want you. We're not even going to call anybody else. We opened the position so that way we could offer it to you. And I said, absolutely, let's do it. So I liked the fact that Zanesville is only about 3 hours away from where I was living. That way I could kind of dip my toe into the whole process of traveling, figuring out the logistics, what do you need to bring versus what is unnecessary for a 3-month stay, kind of getting my cats used to the whole process as well. That way, I figure a 3-hour trip isn't kind of enough to get them used to the whole process before we jump right into, driving all day for a couple days in a row, if that should ever happen. So I was really excited just to get started, get some experience, just see how this whole process works. And so once you sign the contract, the next thing on your to-do list is really to find a place to stay. And as a new traveler, I wasn't really aware of any other resources other than Airbnb. And my recruiter told me that's how most of her travelers find places to stay. So I went ahead and used that, and I never used Airbnb before. I know it's unusual for a millennial, but I'd never really needed to use it before either. But so anyway, so I got on Airbnb and I found like a little studio type, maybe efficiency is a better term, because when I think of studio, I think of like one big space, but this is, a series of rooms. So it's more like an efficiency apartment. In Cambridge, which is where I'm still in the unit right now. My main concern with finding a place was making sure that it was affordable, because whatever I don't spend towards housing is mine, and I really wanted to put money back into my savings that I had drained, and then also pay off the credit card debt that I had accrued, because I was nervous about how much my money would actually last, so I relied on my credit cards more than I usually do. But, debt is the American dream, so yay. So, I found a place, and I could tell from the photos that it wasn't much, but it was worlds away from what I actually walked into. So the place that I'm staying is a house that's been converted into, I think, four apartment units. And the one that I have, I'm not sure if it's the worst or if the rest of them look like it, but I mean, there are some major structural issues, like the floor is sinking in, for example. There's a wet spot on one of the ceiling tiles that has gotten bigger since I've been here. Granted, it has been raining a lot, but like I said, I'm on the first floor, so I'm thinking it's like a plumbing issue from one of the units above me. Would you quit it? Vlogging with cats. So anyway, long story short, there was, a lot of different things that I was very unsatisfied with. Like, for one thing, it hadn't been cleaned when I had a conversation with the host the day before I checked in, and he assured me it was clean. So I tried to resolve things with him. I sent him pictures saying, like, I hate to be this person. I know this doesn't have to be a palace. Like, it doesn't have to be, the perfect, ideal place to stay. But it has to be structurally sound. And I have some big concerns. He said he would look over the images and get back to me, but he never really did. And then I tried to resolve things through Airbnb customer support. It should be called their customer unhelpful line, because they really didn't do anything themselves. They kept sending me messages saying, like, have you resolved things with the host? How is that going? And I'm like, I'm waiting for you to give me a refund, because had I known about these issues, I would never have booked this particular listing. I would have looked somewhere else and spent a little bit more money if those were my only options. So, and I was kind of stuck in place because I didn't really, it was just going to be such a hassle to move right after getting here, repacking everything and trying to wrangle the cats. One of my cats, Gus, he holds a grudge for a while. Like, if I'm once we moved in here, like, if I'm sitting down, like, he's cool. He'll come up, and lay with me and hang out like he usually does. He's my clingy cat. But every time I would walk in the door, or anytime I would walk in any direction, he would run underneath something and hide. Because he remembered when I tried to get him in the car, I had to chase him and walk towards him. And he's like, I ain't playing that game. Nope. So I didn't want to have to deal with that again. And there weren't that many options, for furnished apartments in the area anyway. And all the other listings in Cambridge belonged to the same host. And I was like, I'm not playing, just like Guest wasn't playing that game with me, I am not playing that game with Airbnb. I'm not doing it. So I was kind of stuck in place anyway, and trying to deal with that. But the plus side is that things at work were going really great. I was getting along with everyone there. Was learning how, their protocols, which, some places they're pretty similar, but they might add like, images that I'm not used to acquiring, or, doing measurements that weren't standard where I was working. And each hospital has their own way of doing things, and that's totally normal. So that's, you need like a week or two to kind of get adapted to the way they do things. And like I said, I was getting along with everyone really well. And I think by like the second week, I was working more independently, which is kind of why I like being an ultrasound tech, is because you can just you do your own thing. You take care of your patient, you get another one. Help out when you need to, check in with your coworkers. Is there anything I can do? That sort of thing. But for the most part, you're on your own. And so I was really eager to jump in and help, which is what they'd hired me for. Because they already had one person on maternity leave, and they had two more that were, one was due in May, and then another one was due as far, she had some complications with the pregnancy, so it was kind of up in the air as to how far along she would go. But, they brought me in to help, and I wanted to be helpful. And so finally, like the second week that I got there were some days where it was like, someone was in a room with procedures all day, and they were like, you keep the trains running. And I'm like, I can do that. Like, let's go, let's do it. I'm ready. And those days felt really good. And I think it was a Friday, like March 20th, when I got a call from the imaging manager. And she said, I know you've been in these meetings that we've been having at the end of every day, talking about the schedule and all these changes that are going on because of COVID-19 and limiting the use of personal protective equipment, limiting unnecessary procedures on the schedule, and that they were looking at having to cut their own staff's hours. And she said, we really can't keep you. I don't have any hours to give you. So this is a 2-week notice that we have canceled your contract. And normally I would be working those last 2 weeks, but she told me she didn't have any hours for me on the schedule. Like, it didn't make sense to have me come in when she had nothing for me to do, and she was already working on a limited staff, and like even the managers were going to have to limit their time. Like, it was just the whole department was kind of up in the air as to how long they would be operational at all. Like, ultrasounds can wait unless they're checking for life-threatening conditions. Like, that's something that might come into the ER, but most outpatient ultrasounds, they can wait. So they were kind of up in the air as to, how long they would actually need their own staff. And so she was, very apologetic. She said, we've loved having you there. Hi, Digger. We've loved having you here. If anything changes and one of our staff goes into, maternity leave, goes into labor a little bit sooner than we expect, we will call you. If you're available, we would love to have you. And so I said, I appreciate that. I am also on the same page, so you let me know if anything changes. They're still paying me for those 2 weeks. I should throw that in there. So I'm getting paid for 4 weeks total. Only worked for 2, so not a totally raw deal. It's still disappointing that I didn't get to fulfill the contract, that I didn't really get the full traveler experience. So that's where I am. I've stayed at the Airbnb despite all its problems. Just to make myself available in case they did need me, and also just to, quarantine, because I was working in a hospital, and the patients that were coming into the hospital were getting screened. Still, you just never know, because you can be asymptomatic and still transmit the virus. So I've just really been taking this opportunity just to stay in as much as possible. go out for walks sometimes, especially since it's been raining a lot recently. So on the days, like right now when it's sunny, I really just want to go outside and just be active for a little bit. That does so much for my mental state. I'm prone to depressive episodes if I'm sedentary for a long time, or if I'm just, confined. I need to go out for a little bit just for my mental health. So do that if you need to. Don't let anyone shame you into not taking care of yourself. You take care of others, but you also got to take care of yourself. So I am actually moving out of the Airbnb on Monday. I'm filming this on Friday, the Friday the 3rd. So I will be out of here by Monday and back to my own house. So all future videos, you'll actually get to see what my house looks like. Maybe I'll do it like a tour video, just to kind of show you around. To do that, I would have to clean my house first, which I will be back home by Monday. And, probably still gonna, stay at home. I'm single with no kids, so it'll just be me and the cats, just like it is now. I do miss being able to see my family, especially my mom and my grandparents, because once a week we would get together at my grandparents' house and play euchre, which is a card game for those of you who don't know or don't know how to play. And I don't want to take the chance of getting my grandparents sick. My mom is immunocompromised, but in the end, it is the best that we stay apart until this has passed, however long that takes, which is probably going to be months if we're diligent about it. But it's what you got to do. So I thank you for listening to my rambling. I thank you so much for watching. Please give this video a thumbs up if you enjoyed watching it. Hit subscribe and the notification bell, again, if you want. I would certainly appreciate it, and I will see you guys in my next one. Bye. Was my mascara smudged the whole time?